Yo, what's up, y'all? This is me, DMC, and the place to be, and the only place for you to ever be is right here listening to Sam and George on the greatest podcast ever, If I Rule the World. This is it.
If I rule the world, I love them, baby.
Welcome to If I Rule the World. Usually George starts it, but today I'm going to start it. And today we welcome DJ Mighty My.
What's going on?
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course. I'm honored to talk about stuff, and it's kind of it becomes like a long time ago at this point, So
yeah, I mean, the home field advantage is coming up on the 20-year anniversary, August something, right?
Yep, August 24th, I think.
And you're calling. Usually we do like the face-to-face, but today we're doing it over the phone because you're in Vegas. But you're originally from Philly, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time you were out in Philly?
I was there. I think last November.
Okay. I mean, is that something that you miss? Do you miss home at all?
Yeah, like all my friends that I grew up with are still there, so it's definitely still a connection.
Do they ever say like, hey, Milo, why don't you come home?
Nah, not really. It's just more like we're all on a group text together, so it's
okay.
It's we still stay connected, but actually, ironically, Ian is coming out here tomorrow.
Okay.
And so it's the first time he's been out here in like probably 5 or 6 years, so that's gonna be cool.
Hell yeah! So Eon, for the people listening that don't know, he's basically the guru to your premiere. For High and Mighty.
Does he? So he comes out there just to hang, or he's gonna come there and you guys are gonna work on stuff?
Nah, just to hang.
Nice.
We did do like 3 or 4 shows last year, which was fun.
Just for the record, Milo, just out of pure coincidence, I'm going to Vegas on Saturday for a week.
Wow.
Just kind of ironic. I have family out there, and I'm going out there for my birthday and stuff like that.
Nice, you should come. I'm spinning.
Well, we were kind of like. The interview we got postponed a few times, and I'm like, it's getting real close. I might go to Vegas, sit with Milo, and then call Sam and do the interview that way. But we called it before.
You could have got a whole High and Mighty.
Yeah, so Milo, Philly is like total music and sports town, and I think from what I gather through the years of you, you're a big sports fan, obviously, because all the High and Mighty stuff had very heavy sports influences. And the music, man, you guys have Jedi Mind Tricks over there, The Roots, Will Smith, and fucking Schoolie D. So what was it like growing up in Philly, and what is it that just like inspired you so much that you're in Vegas still playing music?
Well, Philly was just like really alive in the hip hop scene, in the 80s. And I graduated high school in 1990. So those pivotal years of being in high school, 86 through 90, Philly, hip hop in Philly was strong on the radio, you know what I mean? And the groups, 3 Times Dope and Schoolie D and Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Steady B and Cool C, and a lot of even more local talent that, didn't even break out onto the major label scene but had great 12 inches. It was just, if hip hop captivated you at that age, which luckily it did, then Philly was an incredible place to be and inspiring, and especially on a DJ level. It's well documented, had the best DJs, in the world representing in the new music seminar and just on tour and on record. So it was, and then I worked also, Ian and I worked at the Gallery Mall one summer in Foot Locker.
How'd you meet Ian?
I met Ian at the school that we went to, called Friends Select.
And you guys, like, during that era, just to be blunt, like, what's it like as 2 white kids in Philly trying to get a deal in hip hop? Like, you sort of growing up in hip hop, we're all around the same age, so we know sort of what it's like. So what's it like, you and Eon, in that culture at that time in those years?
Yeah, I mean, still very taboo to be white. And I remember, the Run DMC records and Lottie Dottie and records like that crossed over into the white world, but still it was very taboo to be white in Philly and be a fan of hip hop, but more importantly, like to actually try to be a group. So
What was the like?
we
What,
had
I'm sorry. Keep going.
no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say what influenced you to actually make an attempt? Like, so what made you say to yourself, like, Milo, fucking buy some turntables and fucking start spinning?
From the DJ point of view, probably a couple of things. I knew pretty quickly that I wasn't going to be the best of rappers. And when you would go to these big shows in the Spectrum in Philly, the DJ was obviously a big part of the group still in hip hop. And like when you would see the Two Techniques and the Anvil cases and the Gemini 1200 mixer or a Newmark mixer, like draped up on the cases, like that either like captivated you to the utmost, or it didn't. So like besides being a bad rapper, like I was very like into the whole technical aspect of DJing.
Which is probably why you still do it, because I mean, like if anyone knows your catalog, like Eon speaks with his mouth, but you speak with your hands. You come from. I mean, I think for me, like I'm not a big fan of hooks, but I like when DJs cut the hooks. Like that's my thing. Like when Premier does it, when you do it, when certain people like DJs do it, like that's why I felt like you and Eon work so well. And I feel like you just have this essence of hip hop that I loved. Like you take the Def Jux side of the world, the Rhyme Sayer side of the world, and then Eastern Conference Records, which was the label that you guys started. I think you guys had a more straightforward hip hop feel. Like it just felt like samples and beats.
Yeah, well, back then everyone was just trying to do like the best like Primo or Pete Rock like beat and hook they could do, like a really solid beat, and then like find something like memorable to scratch, you know what I mean? And that was like the first 5 to 10 years of my production career, just trying to do to the best I could do. So we were raised on that hip hop, on the generation before Pete Rock and them, like the golden era they call it. And the implementation of scratches, was just a huge, huge part of it, like finding the best thing to scratch. And I remember listening to those early Gangstar records and just anticipating like what Premier was going to scratch, and if I was going to recognize what it was right away and go, oh, that's Craig G, he's scratching Craig G. So, that specific aspect of boom bap was very, very important to my whole, scheming of things.
Absolutely. And so how did High and Mighty start? And was Eon always really good at spitting lyrics?
We had known each other since 4th grade, and we happened to both go to college in Boston, so we were able to continue working on stuff, and we did demos off and on all through college. But it wasn't until Bob Vito of Stretch and Bob Vito came up to Boston to host a party. I was already DJing, and Eon was rhyming in parties and stuff like that, and we were still recording demos. But then Bob Vito invited Eon to come on the Stretch and Bob Vito show because he liked the way Eon rhymed, and that right there gave us a bolt of confidence we needed to keep continuing to do it on a serious level.
Yeah, Eon has a very distinct voice, man. When you hear Eon for the first time and then you see Eon, it's like I remember thinking like, holy shit, like I had no idea that's what Eon was going to look like, because he has such a deep voice. And did he always have that type of flow and voice?
Yeah, pretty much, and it's true. It's like, it's kind of the voice doesn't necessarily go with the appearance, but I mean I think that's what made our sound kind of unique in that, like it didn't sound like, so when we perform it would always surprise people.
Yeah, for sure. So going to the first record, that's almost 20 years old, Home Field Advantage. I went to Fat Beats. So, as a kid, I would go to Fat Beats. I'm from Long Island, and Fat
Right.
Beats is the store from, for the people that are listening, just where you would just buy things. And I remember looking at the High and Mighty record, not knowing what it was, but when I flipped it around, I saw the features. So sometimes, this was before you could sample stuff and whatever. So I'm like, okay, these are some pretty damn good features here. Let me just take a chance on it. And it became one of my favorite hip-hop records of all time. Do you remember anything about making that record? You had basically Eminem and Cage, who had like one of the biggest underground beefs in music at that time. But what were some of the first songs that you remember recording for that album?
Let's see. There was a couple singles out before the album that made the album like in remix form. The Meaning and Open Mic Night. So those came before, but we had become friends with the Alchemist, the producer.
Okay.
And so him, myself, and another producer named Reef, who did What Up Gangster for 50 Cent and a lot of other records. At that time, we were really pushing each other to make, step up the sound, So Alchemist, who did Open Mic Night, gave something to our early sound, and then I did The Meaning, and that became a single that was pretty big for us.
That single is amazing. Let me just cut you off. You flipped the Cypress Hill meet, like that was just that is one of my favorite beats that you ever did. I'll let you continue.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
Just
wanted to throw that out there. A little dab.
Just so you know, Milo, this has been my whole couple weeks of Sam sending me your stuff, commenting on your stuff, giving me asterisks about your stuff from everything you've done. So
yeah, we have a variety of guests, but usually with the hip hop stuff, like we talk to Gore-Tex, Q Unique, and a few people that I know we have Ill Bill on deck. So I'm pretty much like the resident hip hop guy here.
Nice.
But so going on with those singles and The Meaning and Alan the
Right.
Chemist.
So we were kind of like just compiling it like song for song, but I was in effect like the executive producer, but also the producer. So like a big thing back then was, just it was like a scene, and you're right, it was all centered around Fat Beats, and that's where you would meet other artists, and also all through Stretch and Bob show and hearing the songs there. So I was just at the time DJing a lot in the downtown nightclubs. So I was making a lot of cash and just kind of using my DJ money to pay for features. And it wasn't even a lot, so it was just trying to put together the strongest album I could, by any means necessary, really.
You had some like pretty, pretty diverse. I mean, even Kool Keith made it on the record, which is the enigma that is Kool Keith, Ultramagnetic MCs. How did you reach out to him?
Well, he was the king of the underground back then. He was the one who had transitioned from the golden era and Ultramagnetics, to becoming the solo artist. So I think we had the same publisher and initially did Hands-On Experience Part 2 with him. That was a early single that we had. And then so we decided to do like kind of remake it for Home Field Advantage and put him on it. We happened to manager / lawyer as Eminem, so that's how that song happened.
What's up, Paul Rosenberg?
No,
yep,
you guys
Paul
had
Rosenberg.
the same management, right?
Yep.
So what a trip though, right? Like here is a young Eminem who I think the Slim Shady record came out in like 98, so probably around the same time that he recorded with you, right?
Yep, he had recorded the album and he played it for us, when we did the song on our album. So yeah, I think his album was like maybe like 9 months before ours.
Okay. And so by this time was he already like I know him and like Cage had a thing going, and obviously you guys and Cage had have a long history together. Was it even a thing back then when you guys recorded?
It really wasn't. I don't know. Like, Cage really didn't make a big deal out of it. It was just kind of overlooked as just, someone else who's in the scene. And like you said, the album had a lot of features and it was just another song. maybe they had like kind of moved on by that time.
Okay,
You
yeah.
know, I think Eminem had other foes by that time.
For sure, Britney Spears, I think.
He was fighting with
Right,
Fred Durst.
Everlast and
Yeah, that's right. He had the Everlast beef for sure.
right.
Even Evidence, I think, got a little bit in there too. Yeah, just going back to celebrating home field advantage, and your career. Definitely. The Eminem thing. Did Eminem really record the last hit with you guys at Mark Ronson's studio?
No, actually, we recorded that at my studio. You know, the motherfucking spot on Lexington.
Okay.
But we did One by One, the Smut Peddlers song.
Okay.
We did that at Mark Ronson's studio.
Okay. So yeah, you're compiling this record, man, and what was the release date like when it first dropped? Like, what was the response like? Actually, B-Boy Document made it to Sound Bombing 2. Was it before the record or after?
It was before.
Okay, so how did you guys hook up with Rawkus?
We were kind of like competitors of theirs initially, you know, friendly competitors. But like as you mentioned, Fat Beats, like that's where you would see all the records on the wall. So we probably caught their attention with the original B-Boy Document, which had LP and Mos Def on it. So that was like their two biggest artists. And I think they had recently signed a big deal with Priority Records. So we were about to sign with Tommy Boy Records actually to put Home Field Advantage out with them, because Home Field Advantage was pretty much finished.
Okay.
So we were just shopping it around as a finished album. So we were about to sign with Tommy Boy, but then Rawkus came and offered us a whole label deal, a 3-album deal, so we could put out the Smut Brothers.
You had Eastern Conference at the same time, or it seems like you left Rawkus, then there's the Eastern Conference, but was there Eastern Conference before Rawkus?
Yep.
Okay, so you were putting out stuff. So that was a big deal, because you figure like around that time there was like the golden era. But I think the golden era kind of ended around 95. And then, like, the Puffy era came out. But then, like, there was something bubbling at that time. What do you remember about, like, because I would imagine by this time you moved to New York. And the New York underground hip-hop scene was, like, or indie scene, whatever, was kind of, like, bubbling at that time. Because I feel like there was the Puffies of the world, but then there was like a different sound coming with Company Flow's Funk Crusher and all these things. What do you remember about that time?
Yeah, I mean, I was DJing a lot in clubs at the time, so I was fully aware of the whole Puffy side of the industry, but continued to just record with Eon, and do what we were doing. So I don't know if the underground Fat Beat scene, took off in direct contrast with the Shiny Suit Puffy video, era, but there was definitely a, like saving of the underground feeling happening, and led by Kool Keith and MF Doom, who everyone had remembered from KMD.
Sure.
So again, it all centered around Stretch and Bobbito also.
Yeah, that is true, because they were like the original Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
They were getting it out there, and you do like for somebody like me who was younger and coming from like the punk rock scene, I looked at it and was like, I was introduced to Fat Beats, and Fat Beats, from there I got The Arsonist, I got Nonfiction, I got High and Mighty, and from there it just felt like that felt like punk rock to me towards what was happening with the other hip hop, which I liked, but I was like, oh, I really like this a lot more. So Home Field Advantage drops. You got the song on Sound Bombing. I mean, did Rawkus treat you guys good?
Yeah. I mean, overall, for sure. Like, we got to put out 2 albums with them, with tons of exposure that we wouldn't have necessarily got on another label. Because Rawkus was very unique. There would never be another Rawkus, because they were this label that was signing underground independent type groups, and at the same time they had major label money behind them. So they were promoting albums that weren't going to get promoted at other places, at other labels. So that's unique, and that probably won't ever happen again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you remember, like, it was such a just good time. Like you said, the Cool Keiths, MF Doom. I'm pretty sure Operation Doomsday came out around that time. So you guys were a part of this like new wave of things that are still remembered 20 fucking years later. So did you guys do any shows behind Home Field Advantage?
Yeah, we did. We did a bunch of domestic shows, and then we did some tours. One was with Eminem. So in between his first two albums, again, like it was the Paul Rosenberg thing.
Oh yeah, okay.
A European tour, so that was great. We did a tour with Run DMC.
Jeez, that's huge.
Yeah, it was great. One with Cool G Rap.
What was that like? So, because I'm sure like Jam Master Jay must have been an influence on you.
Oh yeah, it was cool. It was also a little nerve-wracking, because they would come out and watch us sometimes, and that was just the craziest because, I had seen them live throughout my life, and were definitely the main inspiration for doing live shows. I mean, nothing was tight as the Run DMC show.
Yeah, I bet. We had DMC on, man. He was like one of the nicest dudes I ever met in my life. So yeah, all right. So moving on from there, do you remember the first other groups that you signed to your label, Eastern Conference? That I know Tame One was on there and a few other people, right?
Yep. I guess Cage was the first. And then we signed Tame One from the Artifacts and Mad Skills, both two ex big beat artists, Atlantic. So that came through my boy Reef, who I mentioned before.
How did you meet Cage?
I think I met Cage through Bobito, and we had copyright from Megahertz. And then we put out a lot of like dual albums, like Cage and Tame One did the Leak Brothers, and Cage and Kamuteo did the Nighthawks.
Yeah,
so we were just putting out a lot of stuff.
So the Leak Brothers, right? Give Me Some Death. Did you produce that song?
Which one?
Give Me Some Death?
I'm not sure.
Jesus, that record has so many great beats, and it also
say yes.
Yeah, just say yes. just take the props from me. It also had a sample of one of the most random like Japanese like horror movies, The Suicide Club. Do you remember? Do you remember that?
I'm not sure. I think like remember RJ Dieter, he did a lot of production on there.
Okay.
And Kamuteo also, unfortunately he passed away.
Absolutely. R.I.P.
And myself, and that was just a bugged out album because, it was obviously about Angel Dust. So
and two of the best rappers ever, like Tame One to this day, like he is just like, I mean, he is so underrated. The record he put out with Del the Funky Homo Sapien, just anything that he did with you guys. And then the Nighthawks thing, whose idea was it to, because I mean, it was taken from the Sylvester Stallone movie. Whose concept was that?
Probably Cage's.
Okay.
Yeah, we were doing bugged out things back then, so we're definitely just making a whole album based on a obscure movie was not out of the question.
Okay. So I mean, speaking of Cage, you guys formed the Smut Peddlers. So like around 2001, you guys put out a record called Porn Again, and the group, did the concept come from the song In Outs off of Home Field Advantage?
Yep. Cage had a definite buzz in his own right at the time after he put out the classic single Agent Orange on Bobito's label. So
did DJ Riz actually do the cuts on that?
Yep.
Yeah, so you put out this record. Who came up with that concept? And also, I'm a big Stern fan, and Beetlejuice was like, Beetlejuice is the man, and you have him on the cover.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lester
definitely.
Green.
definitely Stern influenced. You know, we probably did it, you know, half as like a joke, but half an ode to him, and then probably wanting to eventually get on Howard Stern. I'm sure that played a factor. But yeah, it was hilarious. Like those sessions of him recording at my place and doing the photo shoots. And his manager at the time, Sean, I think he passed away.
He did. He did.
Yeah, but he was great to deal with. He was actually very professional.
Well, yeah, Sean was, but I know Beetlejuice had a lot of issues saying those lines, because what you hear on Porn Again is definitely like, that was definitely an editing job, because I remember on the DVD, I'm like, holy shit, this is hilarious. Just like you have him doing the lines over and over again.
Yeah.
So we're from Long Island, and one of my favorite rappers of all time, you know, we have mutual friends, R.A. the Rugged Man, and he was on that record. He did Bottom Feeders with you guys, and you guys put out a really ridiculous video. Do you remember anything about that?
Yep. You know, I think we had like a $5,000 budget, so we really had to like just keep it real gutter. And so I think we, you know, shot him very on location. One of the scenes was at my place. And then it was crazy because after, you know, RA directed it and edited it and everything, but then he like kidnapped it. It was just RA being RA, you know what I'm saying? And he wouldn't let us see it. And he made a big deal about seeing it. And, you know, it was very of the times.
You know, have you kept up with his career? Just how completely, I don't know, he's kind of on his game. You know, he's in the last few years, like, I can't think, like, Legends Never Die might be one of the best hip hop records I've heard of the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, but it definitely doesn't surprise me, because he's always been the most professional of professional rappers. You know what I'm saying? Even recording with him, it was like almost like he's a savant. Like he like listens back to his takes and like puts his words together like very, very calculated.
Yes, I mean, total student for sure.
Yes.
Definitely somebody that I'd love to get on the show. I know he has a show as well. He was shooting a video like around here, and I just happened to be helping out. And hopefully that video drops soon. He had Bill Paxton's son in there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, man. And I'm a huge Bill Paxton fan, so like I was just like, holy shit, like, you know, like I don't know. I was just tripping because it's his son, and obviously Bill's not with us anymore. But all right, so just like moving forward, like I feel like the Smut Peddlers record did very well for you guys. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean everything was, it was I don't even know what like success was considered back then. Like, you know, we were making music that like we weren't trying to like go platinum with, but back then, like with SoundScan and everything, it was very competitive. But yeah, it definitely like propelled all of our careers and set up to do the next project, which was the Cage solo album. So that was our first album that we put out after our deal with Rawkus.
Movies for the Blind.
Yeah.
And so did you produce the whole record? I don't even know.
No, I did about 50% of it, but
Suicidal Failures?
Yep, I did Suicidal Failures.
I'll tell you one thing. All right, so the two songs that I feel like Cage, aside from Agent Orange, but I feel the two of the darkest songs he ever did, Suicidal Failures and Ballad of Worms. I don't know if you produced that one.
Yeah, well, that was just kind of a flip of a alternative rock song.
Yeah, Built to Spill.
Yeah.
So were you a Built to Spill fan?
I think that was Cage's idea.
Oh, man, that was such a... I mean, it kind of makes sense as to, like, where he is now, you know, as far as, like, vibe. But, like, when I first heard... Like, being a huge... Like, I play guitar in a band, and I sing and all that other shit. So
nice.
I'm a big Built to Spill fan. So when I heard that, I was like, I can't believe they took this fucking song, and what he's rapping about is like this girl with meningitis, and it's so graphic. I don't know, man. It's pretty intense. That and Suicidal Failures are just unfucking real, man.
A lot of stuff was his own life experiences, so They're very truthful records also. I
So
mean, obviously exaggerated at times, but all the ideas and stuff. Like Stony Lodge on that album, which is one of my favorites. That was his own experience of being institutionalized.
yes, the stories definitely I remember. And we were, as a Cage fan, with Agent Orange and Illest Four Letter and all that other stuff, a whole bunch of us, man, we were waiting for that Movies for the Blind, and it had a lot of jams on there. But then you guys, the High and Mighty, put out Air Force One, so around 2002, I believe. And so what do you remember about that record, which was kind of like an EP, I would say, like 8 songs with like
Yep.
two skits?
Uh-huh.
What was the vibe coming off like such a big record?
And was that 2002 or 2003?
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but it's definitely around that era. You had,
Did you used to shop at that spot out in Long Island near
yeah, the cop shop.
Jefferson? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That was like one of the spots. Man, I have physical copies of pretty much everything that you ever put out. Like,
Nice.
To the 12th Man, like everything, like even like the comps, the ECC stuff. But so for Air Force One, once again, another sports theme. I know you're a sneakerhead, right? That's where it came from.
Yep. We were just heavy into sneakers at the time. It was kind of like the second wave of, like the first wave of sneaker companies launching throwbacks, from the 80s, which we kind of grew up on, and just starting to collect stronger and stronger, So, yep, definitely the cover was something that was generated by a couple of our friends in my collection. And then, it was more like an EP, kind of just a continuation of Home Field, a little bit different. We had moved on from some relationships, but yeah, I mean, we had RA on there and Havoc from Mobb Deep and
so
Copyright.
Copyright, was that the first time you guys worked with Copyright?
On a High and Mighty record, I guess so. Yeah, he was on the Smut Peddlers album, though.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely, we were working hard with him at the time.
What about so how'd you hook up with Havoc, which obviously from Mobb Deep?
I think that this happened through RA.
Okay.
And it was a song that RA had, and that's how it became on our record.
And that record, like I posted a song yesterday, which I love because I love anything that you get to show off on. So DJ Mighty Mai in the Land of Deadstock. I feel like Eon does this thing with his rhymes, but then since you're not rapping, your production style is like, very much like I said, you talk with your hands, as well as the Illadelph Jack move, right? So that was, I would imagine, a take on the Ice Cube song. And were all those samples from artists from Philadelphia?
Yeah, I guess we were, fans before we were artists. So a lot of our songs are kind of odes to like our, the music that we grew up on. So, the DJ song was always like a pivotal part of
Always.
Records in the golden era. So we always felt like we needed a Mighty My song on the record. So I guess I'm proud I'm the only one with 4 DJ songs.
Yeah, man. If for real, like that, you remember, like Gangstar, like always, like Premier always had a song where he could just like let loose. It's like the equivalent of like, a guitar solo, you do your thing, and it's if you know how to do it and you do it well, then why not do it, and especially since Eon's the only rapper, so it's like, you got to do your thing.
Right on.
So like from the time Home Field Advantage came out to the time that Air Force One came out, like the music culture moved so quick. Like what was the vibe like when you guys dropped that?
We were in the industry hard, you know what I mean? And Rawkus had given us this great 12-inch deal where we would deliver them singles and they would give us, very good money at the time. So we were able to like go seek out other talent and offer them these really good deals to do singles. So a lot of those at that time were stuff we were putting out with other people from sometimes different cities. But it was definitely, vinyl driven. sell 25, 30,000 copies of a single on vinyl, so it was very exciting to kind of like make something and then see how well it did. And, point blank at Fat Beats, where you would just literally be hanging out in the store and seeing people come in and buy your record. So it was very call and response,
What do you think? Because I think Napster happened around that time, and like the digital files and all that other stuff. I would imagine it hits indie artists probably a little harder than the majors. So
a lot, I would say.
Yeah. So especially somebody with a label, because I mean, Def Jux folded. A lot of the labels that were happening around that time, I would imagine, found it hard. Because you're also dealing with kids that are tech savvy. So if they want to take the music, they're going to take it. So how did that hit you guys?
I remember being over in like Amsterdam with Cage and Eon, and we would go to these internet cafes a lot. Early days of having, the message boards where your fans could speak to you directly. And then, we saw Napster coming along, I remember just Cage saying like, I think we're going to get fucked. I think this is going to be crazy shit, which obviously it was. But yeah, like it cut into our sales like crazy. And like, of course, an Eminem can afford to like lose 200,000 sales, but like for the indie artists, it really is the death of them.
And do you think, like, in a land like today, man, Spotify is the shit, Apple Music. Now, I feel like the streaming platforms all kind of the landscape almost is righting itself in a way. Do you feel like High and Mighty could have survived like today?
No, probably not, because there's like 500 new rap songs a day. It's like so watered down and mass released. Whereas our generation was still the last generation of vinyl and seeing your product up on the record shelves. Like there's something to say about that, like it's holding your own CD, since none of that, exists anymore. I mean, I think we would do pretty well, like social media wise, because we always kind of branded ourselves well, with the sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just surviving in the digital world is, close to impossible.
Well, it's strange because it's easier to be heard, but it's harder to be heard because they're, like I could sit here and, record a song into my iPhone and, I could clog up the market pretty much. But, on the flip side, recording, you're not going to a studio for the most part to record anymore. Now you could just do it from wherever. So, and then as far as manufacturing, you're not making CDs and shipping them out anywhere. You're just shooting out a fucking digital stream. So I feel like in a way, like maybe it evens out. I'm just basically trying to get you guys back together. Would you ever do like a DJ Muggs like versus type thing? Like basically, where you work, I don't know, you put out a record. It's like, DJ Mighty My versus whoever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still open for a lot of stuff. I put together a project over the last couple of years called OG House, where I worked with a lot of the golden era rappers that I grew up on. So I put out a song with Large Professor and Ghostface Killer and Noriega and MC8. But it was kind of like house music. Well, just up tempo, kind of modern sounding, because I wasn't going to try to like recreate golden era with any of these guys. We're all kind of out of our prime. So it was some different shit.
Is it house music because, you're in Vegas now and a lot of the clubs that you spin at, like I would imagine that's what you're playing?
House music definitely exploded out here for the last 10 years, but hip hop actually made a huge return probably 2 or 3 years ago. But yeah, I guess at the time that influenced me, and I just kind of wanted to do something different. But it's funny, I'm still sitting on probably 15 songs with crazy artists. So I've been kind of revamping them and hopefully going to release them. I got an EP coming out with Sub Rock. So
Dang.
I'm still recording, just
Chub.
kind of doing what I want.
Yeah, very cool. So I just wanted to touch on your relationship with Michael Rapaport. I know that he was on I forget How to Rob an Actor, and then also he was in one of the videos that you guys made. So just wondering, I'm a big True Romance fan. I remember fucking Mike, from Higher Learning. I mean, the guy made a Tribe Called Quest documentary,
Yeah.
named his son Maceo after De La Soul. So he's legit hip hop. And it almost sounded he rapped a little bit, but it was kind of jokey, obviously, on How to Rob an Actor. So how did that relationship happen?
I think we met him from our boy Lindy that we went to college with, and then have continued to have friendship with him. So he was working for Mike at the time. So he linked us, and I remember when he came over to record How to Rob an Actor, we gave him like a weed edible, and like luckily it didn't kick in until after he recorded. But I remember him like being sitting Indian style on my kitchen floor on the phone with his wife at the time, going, "I think these guys poisoned me. I think these guys poisoned me." He was flipping out.
Yeah, he's got an interesting career lately. His podcast is great. What I love about Mike is he's so New York, and his love of hip hop never stopped. Most of his guests, and just like you, his podcast is basically sports and music.
Yeah.
Static Selecta, like he has all, like anyone who's anyone there right now. So that's very cool. Just curious. Let's talk 12th Man a little bit, because I remember the cover. The cover seemed to me maybe a little bit telling at the moment, because it was your last record, and it's you and Eon sitting on the bench while the team was playing. Is that kind of how you felt like by that last record?
That was more like another self-deprecating, you know, of us. Like a lot of Eon's lyrics, a lot of the time, are like the opposite of boasting. So it's just a play on the term, like 12th man, and sports means you're at the end of the bench. So maybe it was also a metaphor. You're right on, like kind of like outside looking in on hip hop at this point, but it was more like a sports reference,
Okay.
making fun of ourselves type thing.
On that record, you had on Ruck, who at that time was transitioning to Sean Price. So around 2005, which is when 12th Man came out, Sean drops Monkey Bars, which is one of the greatest hip-hop records of all time. What do you remember about working with Sean Price? Rest in peace.
Just utmost professional, just aware of his craft, you know what I mean? Not trying to get over on anybody, like honestly caring about his takes and what he put onto tape. We really like vibed well personality wise, and he remember him telling us that he was investing in real estate and that was the future. He's on a couple songs on that album, so
Yes, he's on 2.
yeah, so we definitely had a good thing. And then we also recorded a song for another artist that we put out called Reef the Lost Cause. So they did a song together that I produced also.
Okay.
So you record probably came over my studio crib, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and Reef is I know Reef because I guess he's associated with like Vinny Paz and like the Philly Jedi Mind Tricks guys.
Sure.
The song, well, it's kind of like a little bit piece on Home Field Advantage, which I don't know the story, but what is the Newman story about?
The Newman story is a guy from Philly who was putting out a couple artists that Eon and I had worked with and put some records out with Eastern Conference All-Stars. There were a couple groups from Philly, and for whatever reason we had a falling out with them. But we had recorded a song together, but they ended up taking Eon off and putting the song out together, without Eon, which was kind of a lowbrow thing to do back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we prank called the guy who was the producer of the in charge of putting those records out, and just played a prank on him.
Okay, just curious because I mean it's one of those skits that I didn't really know too much about.
Yeah.
And back then you could crowbar stuff like in. But yeah, so that brings us kind of to today. Like so, 2005, the High and Mighty ends. Like, was it like a mutual thing between you and Eon, where after you put out the record? How long before 12th Man drops and you move to Vegas?
Well, Eon moved to Philly first. Like, so once he moved to Philly, like it kind of put a wrench in our recording process. At that time, I had stopped DJing for about 5 years during Eastern Conference, in clubs. So then I started to, have a resurgence in spinning, kind of brought it back to my essence. And Serato was just coming out, so you didn't have to carry records anymore, after years and years of carrying crates up and downstairs. So I started to get back into the nightclub DJ thing, and then an opportunity came up for me in Vegas I couldn't pass up. So I moved to Vegas in 2007. So I guess that's 2 years after 12th Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that's kind of like a big change from like New York, Philly area to a place that seems to get pretty hot. Everything's air conditioned, and you could lose money just by walking by a fucking slot machine. What was that transition like?
I knew I kind of had to get healthy pretty quickly, so if I continued to be a smut peddler on my smut peddling path and drinking every night and all that, like I knew my time in Vegas would be pretty short. So about a year after I moved here, I stopped drinking and just kind of lived the anti-Vegas lifestyle. You'd be surprised at like the lifestyle I live out here. It's not very Vegas at all, besides working on the strip.
You look from the Instagram pictures, you look like healthy. You look like a slim, like I don't know. You look like completely from like the High and Mighty pictures. I'm on the keto diet a little myself. Dropped 28 pounds, but I don't want to brag.
Congrats!
I got 32 left.
You gotta move to Vegas.
I might have to.
Surprised.
But so I mean, Vegas seems like DJ culture, but it also seems like EDM. Kind of like, I don't know, I don't get a real hip hop vibe from Vegas. So what was that transition musically like?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually exciting at the time, coming from New York and only doing one type of music for my whole life to now kind of have this new world of making people dance. It was exciting, and then it got played out very quickly. The whole EDM world never really expanded. So, now after 11 years of being at the Wynn Hotel, I'm now at a new place called On the Record at the Park MGM. So we have a lot of artists that we've been booking, more my style, with Big Daddy Kane and Naughty by Nature and Black Sheep. So it's been definitely a breath of fresh air to be back in the hip hop swing of things.
Yeah, you got the boys back in there. That's fucking great.
Boys are back in town.
Boys for sure. My friend actually was in Vegas forever. He was like one of the head chefs at the Wynn.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, his name's Joe Leibowitz. So that's so weird. But he actually bounced out of there because Wynn gave him an opportunity. Wynn's opening up a place in Boston.
Right.
So he relocated him. Man, I gotta ask him if he knows DJ Mighty My. I know we were just actually. I'm not even gonna mention that. I'll cut it out. But I was gonna say we
tell him I did Encore Beach Club for the past decade.
Yeah, man, that's wild for sure. So you guys were definitely in the same place. But yeah, so there's no. I guess that's it. Vegas is your home. You get to do your thing. Hip hop groups come through. And for the most part, you're still doing and earning a living with what you did as a kid. Like, not many people could say that, like not many people could look at their catalog, at the music that they produced, the fact that like fucking people from, we're calling you to talk about this like legacy that you left behind. And you're still, like you're an adult now and you get to fucking play and earn a living playing music.
Yeah, man, I feel so lucky, man. I guess I was lucky to pick the right hobby as a 15-year-old. I never thought it would lead to a career or, being able to support myself. But yeah, it's crazy.
Do you have anything musically lined up that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I guess the new stuff with Chubb Rock, and I'm doing a Golden Era mix Memorial Day weekend on LL's Rock the Bells Sirius station.
Okay, I got Sirius. I love it.
So it's like, yeah, a 90-minute mix of all that good Golden Era stuff. So that's going to be fun. I got a monthly show on Diplo's station on Diplo's Revolution on Sirius called Then and Now, where I mix like all the current stuff with the 90s and 80s stuff. So I'm still out there, just if you come to Vegas, come to On the Record.
What do you
Next week.
Well, yeah, George will be there. George will be there Saturday. But so
Yeah, come through, man. Just mention me at the door.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a family visit, but
Got your number. I'm texting you before I get there.
what are some new artists that you're feeling, man? Anyone?
Rappers here and there. I love Kendrick.
Okay.
And, the ASAP guys are good. And I like things here and there, I can't get into a lot of the new hip hop, but I think there's great R&B artists still. And my man Mark Ronson's out doing his thing. There's
Listen,
still good music being made. You just got to find it.
let me gush a little bit about Mark Ronson, okay? People don't know. Like, the shit that he did for the Amy Winehouse stuff, the Fuzz album, his Versions album is ridiculous. Like, he has an ear, but the thing with him is that he is a legit hip-hop DJ, and that's where he came from. Those mixes, like, where was he spinning in Manhattan, like in 2002, like so long ago, right?
Yeah, we came up kind of in the same generation in the late 90s, early 2000s, New York downtown scene.
Yeah, like, and to see, the success, obviously with Bruno Mars and all that other stuff, but I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man, but like, this dude is legit, because some people want to knock it, and I'm like, listen to the production. The production is so on point. His beats, I can't say enough about that guy, man. For sure, he's one of my favorite producers out there, for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm very proud of him.
And real quick, give me your top 3 DJs of all time, hip hop.
Just party rocking, or just as hip hop DJs?
Not just like hip hop DJs, like the 3 people that you would say influenced you the most.
Jazzy Jeff, DJ Aladdin from LA.
Okay.
I would say Stretch Armstrong.
Oh, okay.
Make it top 5. 2 more.
2 more. You got
2 more?
Yeah, you got 2 more.
2 more.
I'd say Cash Money, the Philly thing, and Clark Kent.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
I like the influences. Okay, so we're ready for the last question? Go ahead, George.
All right. DJ Mighty My. The name of the podcast is If I Ruled the World. So we ask every guest that we have, if you ruled the world, what would that look like?
A non-Donald Trump presidency.
It's not a bad way to start off.
I mean, it's pretty obtainable. Maybe it might take 6
In
years.
a couple of years. Beyond that.
Yeah, beyond that, I think, unless we have to oust him or something. But
What else?
All right, fellas. Well, thank you so much, man.
yeah, thank you for doing it. Thank you for randomly doing it. I know we don't know each other from a hole in the wall, and you're in Vegas and you're doing your thing. But
let me know when it's out.
Yeah. We got an episode up, so maybe like a week or so. I'll let you know. But thank you so much for your time, man. And
man.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Later.
All right, brother.
Peace.
If I ruled the world, I love 'em, baby.